Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Roll20 Presents The Burning Wheel. This is episode kind of 0.5 because we still have some character and world stuff to do, and in the spirit of taking our time with this game, I thought rather than be like, all right, everybody, come to the table with some beliefs that you've made by yourself alone and figure out all the rest of the rules by yourself, and we'll just start. I thought it would be better to just carry on with workshopping the characters, workshopping the world a little bit, and taking our time. Because as with anything that is worth doing for a long time, it's worth doing correctly. So yeah, we're gonna finish making characters today. We're gonna talk about the world, and we're gonna go over some of how the rules work, because some of us have not had the immersive Burning Wheel experience that Andrew and I have gone through in our lives. So yeah, if you're just tuning in, if by some strange quirk of fate you've circled your way into this channel, I am joined by my usual beautiful cast, the folks for whom I have been playing role-playing games almost a year now. We're getting up on our anniversary.
Close.
Right quick.
It's close to a year. Yeah,
I know, and it's so good.
Wow.
We had way back when just been like, let's play a game together, and now it's like, let's play all games together.
All of them.
Let's play all of them.
And I think it's interesting because, just as a bit of meta commentary on the group and our experiences, I think this is what happens when you play role-playing games. I think that you end up finding people that you like playing games with, and then you're just like, cool, you want to try a different game? Let's try a different game together. Let's try some other stuff.
You are my humans now. I will keep you.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. Find some people you can tolerate and then play fun games with them. So we are we're getting ready for a campaign of the Burning Wheel, which, if you've been watching literally anything that I have done ever on the internet, you have heard me mention as being my favorite game. So I'm really happy to share it with all y'all. And we started on character creation. We got some concepts. We did the majority of character burning last session. So today we're going to go over the last bits, kind of finish the homework, and then we're going to spend as much time as we need talking about possibly the most important part of the whole game, which is to say beliefs and instincts. We also have to do a bit more world building in terms of cultural traits. So I'll walk through what that is, and we'll do that. But I believe the place we left off last session was resources.
Hey, so Adam, side note.
Yeah.
Just because I didn't want to interrupt you while you were on a roll.
Yeah.
You said humans you can tolerate?
Yeah.
Or
You said humans? You can tolerate?
Right. I mean, you know.
ow.
Listen. My tolerance ceiling is very high, so.
We were taking.
I just had to.
Wait, let's.
I just heard it and I was like, I have to comment on this. But
Wait,
it's
Elf doesn't want mere.
moment's passed.
Elf doesn't want mere tolerance. Elf wants.
You said
to
humans
love.
you can tolerate.
I require more than tolerance.
Fine, Elf.
Sir.
You're okay.
This all right here is going to push you out of the threshold.
Oh no!
I'm just gonna go ahead and adjust my spreadsheet. No, it's fine.
Just let me check my chart of people I like.
Yeah, turns out. No.
Yeah.
All right, so
It was
resources,
weird.
right?
You were
Yeah.
humans that you can tolerate, and I was like, yeah, I'm offended too. Tolerate, and I was like,
Right,
yeah,
I'm surrounded by an elf, a robot, and a couple of birds. So cool.
Yeah.
It's fine. You're like every Dungeons and Dragons adventuring party ever. Hey, you know how humans are the most popular species on the planet? Okay, you all want to play Goliaths and dwarves, and somebody has a homebrew character class they want to play. Fine, whatever. Fuck it then. Fuck demographics.
We are the specialists of snowflakes.
yeah.
Yep. Okay, we did all the weird mortal wound math and all of that. So we were on spending resource points, which was really complex because I feel like each of you essentially has your own set of rules with which to spend these things, right? Some of you need to buy houses.
Yeah.
Some of you need to buy avocado toast. So let's start with the avocado toast. Andrew and Dave, did you work out what RPs you needed to?
What?
Dave.
Damn it,
Dave.
Dave, what did you do?
Dave hecked up the order. It's not your fault.
I didn't touch it.
It's fine. Talk about resource points. I'm gonna just awkwardly reorganize the entire thing here. We'll do it live. I don't
Shuffle
even care.
Dave to the back.
Yeah,
All
Dave,
right,
you're
so-
getting bumped to the end of the list.
So talking about resource points, we were talking about like Andrew and Dave had magic stuff to do,
Yes,
right? So
yeah.
like,
I have
what's
it
the
all
deal?
figured out. You want to hear what I bought with my resource points?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Yes.
I bought clothes for 1 point,
Nice.
shoes for 1 point, finery for 5 points.
Ooh.
I have a workshop for 20 points.
What now for work? Can you talk a little bit more about workshops? So how does that work? Is it for a skill or?
Yeah, I think this is a sorcery workshop.
Okay.
It's like my wizard's tower, basically.
Yeah. Now the workshop, you can't live in it though, right? Like it's
No,
not.
no,
It's
no.
not property.
Further to that, Adam, I
Okay.
also have a villa
Nice.
because I'm a fancy, living in the castle person
Mhm.
now. I have some personal effects. I have a 1 die reputation at court of being a reliable oracle.
Nice. Because you don't have the Cassandra trait, do you?
No, I do not have the
Okay. Okay. Good. Because
I can't get it because I couldn't take augur.
those
Otherwise-
those two would be at cross purposes, right? Like this is a reliable oracle no one believes. Right. So it's tools for a skill. So what is your workshop? It's the skill is attached to sorcery, right?
Yes.
Awesome. I want to have a sorcery workshop. That sounds
Which
great.
I assume is a thing. I don't know. I mean, I guess it means that I can go and like do.
Well, does sorcery? I don't know if sorcery
says
requires tools.
It says it's a big toolkit. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it would be appropriate, but maybe it's not. Maybe
Well, I just
what
don't
it-
want you spending. I don't want you spending it on things just on a skill that you don't need it for.
I mean, I want to have a wizard's tower. It's the
Do
main-
you,
I mean,
do
your
you have
villa.
any
Your villa can be. You can describe it however you want, right? It can be a
Your villa
creepy
can
witch's.
have a tower.
Yeah.
yeah, do you have enchanting opened?
I do not have enchanting. I could take enchanting, but I
Is
not especially-
Cercination a skill that requires tools?
Assassination
could be
doesn't
like
require
my-
tools.
No.
Could be my summoning place.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was just doing the same thing. I got myself a belief toolkit, but the only reason I did was because you need a toolkit.
Well, then here's what it is,
And
Adam.
one of the-
Here's what it is. I have a whole host of different skills that it could be for.
Mhm.
I have alchemy,
Oh, there you go. Yeah, it could be an alchemy
Um,
workshop.
and then so I think actually it's like an alchemy
Okay.
lab. And then I have a toolkit for astrology,
Mm-hmm.
which allows me to do like people's charts and stuff.
Mhm.
And then I have some personal effects, which I think I may have already mentioned. I am sworn in the castle, which is a spirit circle thing. It's like the +1 quality one.
Right. Yeah. So let's talk about that. So your spirit binding stuff you can spend points on, resource points, and these give you bound, sworn, embodied, and mastered, and then the domains. Let's see, domain binding levels may be increased during character burning. There are different levels. Yada yada yada. And so this is spirits of right example domains. I see.
Yeah, and it lists castle as
A
well.
few of them, yeah. Tundra, North Wind, Forest Fire, Foothills, Desert. Cool. Castle. I like that.
So I have spirits of the castle are sworn to, and then for 25 points, I took embodied in the dark woods.
Yes. Okay.
What is that?
So it's another form of so she's good at binding spirits of the castle, but she's real good at binding spirits of the dark wood.
Yeah, which is where my three-tailed fox familiar comes from.
Nice. Okay.
And I'm imagining as being the like spooky magical dark forest that we referred to.
Mm-hmm.
That's like where all of the boogeymen of the setting exist.
So
where
this brings up a
Magic
question.
stuff will come back into being, perhaps.
Yeah, this brings up a question that I think is important to. It's going to be important to Blue Jay as well. in buying property, we've established that the game, the important place is the city in which the conclave was to take place, right? And so when we're buying relationships, when we're buying property and stuff, do we assume that your characters are all, at least at this point, the game takes place in the city and its environs? So this city is on some border that is close to the Dark Woods.
I think that's a safe bet.
I mean, wouldn't that be the most exciting thing?
I feel like
Adam?
it would, certainly. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it definitely makes sense that we would all want to be in a similar spot.
Okay.
And
Yeah, and like my
since
villa is in the city, of course.
and since the main starting action is in that city, we should all have been there.
So this city then is some kind of like, I don't want to say it's not a frontier city, but it's certainly at the edges of the primordial parts of the kingdom, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
maybe this is
it
like
hasn't been cleared around, right? So we
This is some Transylvania shit.
Yeah, that's some Transylvania
Yeah.
shit, exactly.
Yeah, deep in the mountains, surrounded by the dark primordial woods.
I mean,
yeah.
maybe it would make sense that this would be considered like a city that is more holy because the woods had that magic in them, and so like things happen
maybe
around
there's
here
maybe there's a
that
reason.
could be considered,
Here's a
magical.
thought. So in a very like British Isles, or like that area kind of thing, like near where Dave lives kind of stuff.
Yeah, near where Dave
There was
lives.
this old city that was founded on the like old ways, and then the new religion came along. It was just
Yes.
like, this is ours now, and builds it up, but
That
it's
makes
still like deeply suffused in this like
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
would be like pagan or like druidic tradition.
Yes,
So
totally.
that stuff, which my character represents, is
Yeah,
still-
well, in this city that we're setting the game in, we've established is not the capital. It's probably like fairly far from the capital, but is important. It's where the king of this area lives, and it definitely is like it's a bit of a like fuck you to the civilization that came before, right? To the village that it was built on.
Yeah,
Because it's
exactly.
like, well, look at we've civilized this town that used to be pagan, and we've incorporated it into our okay, I dig that.
And so then I have 5 more spirit circles that are bound at 0 dice.
Okay, yeah. How does that work? So do you pick?
I just get 5 to
Ah,
start.
right. Okay. So yeah, list your
I will get a 6th that I can assign anytime I want because of my well-traveled trait.
Okay.
I just get to be like, oh, we've gone here. Like, I have a thing. Here.
I know
I've been
these.
here
Yeah.
before.
Okay.
Yeah. And then well-traveled otherwise is a character trait. So yeah, I'll have like 5 or 6 more like environs to associate my character with.
Okay.
But that's all of my stuff. I was gonna have a relationship with like a kid of mine, but it just doesn't quite fit.
Yeah. Well, you can, and I mean, the thing is, you can always use circles to find people you're related to.
Yeah, and so like I envision my character has some indeterminate number of kids, but that she is not the kind of person who like stuck around to raise them.
And how does
And this is part of from my like traveling days. I would have like, to kind of drop the kids off.
right? You picked them up in one town and dropped them off in another.
Yeah.
Did you decide on your five like locales for your spirit binding?
No.
Okay.
So those I still have to figure out all of them. I know I wanted the Dark Woods and the castle, but I wanted those at a level greater than 0. So I have these like freebies to assign still.
Okay, and these
So I
will
need
need
to
to these basically the reason that I ask now is because these are like ways for us to establish the kinds of environs that are around, right? It's both prescriptive and descriptive in that I could have told you you're in like mountains would be appropriate, village if that's a thing.
Well, yeah, and this is the thing. I wanted to wait to have a little bit more context. I didn't want to just do
I'm digging
myself.
on this Transylvania, Hungary. Someone in chat mentioned we should use cool Hungarian noble titles like voivode. Yeah, I feel it. I'm feeling this, and that should definitely be one of our cultures when we get down to cultural traits is like people of the mountains.
Oh, Dave.
It's okay.
And then my final question for this moment is uh, do I get to be from the like witchy / druidic culture? And do we get to have separate traits for that?
Yeah, and we'll figure that out, right? Like I think that
Okay,
there's
cool.
probably the naturalized people. Like there's been civilization here long enough, and we'll talk about cultural traits, but there's probably like the people who live in the city who are like the mountain people who are like noble, like they've been accepted into modern culture, but they share a bloodline at least a little bit with the people who live in the villages of the mountains and who live in the forests. But those people have their own separate cultural traits.
Yeah.
I have a vested interest in knowing what the the idea of slavery is in this.
Yes, yeah, and
setting.
we'll definitely talk about that when we get to here. So, I guess let's figure this out. So the area that you're in, I definitely think like for spirits and stuff, are like mountains would be an option.
Yeah, the two I've just added, spur of the moment now, are Bound in the Mountains and Bound in City Streets.
Okay.
Because I think there would be lots of fun.
Bound in City Streets sounds awesome.
Yeah, like weird little like urban niche.
Alley spirits and stuff.
It's like
yeah.
your rats and your.
And then some of them are like elemental things. Like one of the ones that they suggest in the book is laval fire, so like lava. But I was thinking maybe shadows, like darkness specifically.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh yeah. Spirits of darkness for sure.
Yeah,
and
so
and
Bound in
the reason
Shadows.
why I want to do this now and then go to Dave is because Dave also has some ability to truck with spirits, but a whole other kind of spirit, and we'll talk about what that works. Yeah. So for folks watching who are maybe not familiar with the Codex, both Andrew's character and Dave's character interact with non-human entities of the universe, but Andrew's character is sort of an animist who conjures and deals with spirits of the world, spirits that are in the world and of the world, and then Dave's character will interact with spirits that are both above and below the world, metaphysically. So we'll get to that. Okay, so yeah, mountains, city streets. You want to take? Now, there's can be a difference between shadow and darkness. Which do you prefer?
Shadows, I think,
Okay.
are more interesting than full-on darkness.
Spirits of shadow. Okay.
And then I want like bound in like what is it? Like country ambling kind of things, like hillside or something, or like farmlandy.
Yeah. No, I
It's
don't. I don't
like
think.
like pasture.
Yeah.
sort of?
Yeah. I don't think that there's. I don't think there's like a lot of farming around this town particularly. There probably is mining, and then they export that kind of material, and then import food. There's probably hunting done in the edges of the. I definitely envision that there are like the King's Rangers and stuff that patrol the woods. The king technically owns the woods, even though no one goes
Yeah.
there. And like all the little pagan villages that exist out in the woods, they're technically illegal. Like they're all outlaw villages and stuff. There is definitely a transitionary period between the city and the deep woods where it's like, yeah, you're an outlaw, get the fuck out of here, and then they go and they live in these like weird outlaw.
And you
villages.
live in like a semi-feral lifestyle in the woods.
Yeah, they return to the barbarism cast out.
Okay, well then here's the further questions. Are there animal spirits? Is that a category?
I don't think so. Well,
They're
let
more
me.
locational or elemental.
Yeah, they
than
tend to be
that.
broader than that, right? Like,
Okay, so
a
then
spirit of the woods might take the form of a great like hawk or an owl or a doe, but it's a spirit of the woods, right?
all right, well then I'm bound in rivers and falls.
Nice.
So the like crashing glacial waters of the mountain peaks. And then I'm bound in ice and snow.
Fucking sweet.
I'm
That's
fairly
awesome.
metal.
You're very metal. So you are bound to the castle, the dark woods, the mountain, the city streets, the shadows, the rivers and falls, and ice and snow.
Wow, you're bound to a shit ton of things.
But you're mostly the dark woods, right? Like the dark woods are
the
your
dark woods
jam.
are my jam. Okay.
The Witch of the Dark Woods.
Additional stuff, Adam.
Yeah.
So things I've been thinking on. I have the trait Essence of the Earth,
Right.
which is the elf trait about aging differently and
Mhm.
being immortal unless killed.
Yes.
I'm of human stock.
Mhm.
Do you think it is fair for me to take my physical age points as if I were younger, in line with like where my age would fit on the elven progression. So if we think of the categories as steps, since I
understand what you mean.
Right, like should I be the same number of steps along?
What's the well?
in
Let
the
me
elven area,
read
but then
the trait.
transposed over to human.
Let me read the trait here. I think for the sake of like the way the mechanisms work, I think the answer to that is probably no. But I want to look at the trait.
It's on page. I wrote a page note here. 139.
Okay.
Elves do not feel the effects of the earthly cold and heat as do men. They do not fall ill. They are ageless and will only pass on when the earth ends. They do not take health tests for illness. They gain +1 die to health and 4 tests for resisting fatigue and poison. They are not deathless, else may be killed by violence or may waste away due to grief. But yeah, the one that struck me there was the whole like ageless thing.
I think it's just that you have a long future. I think that you age up and then stay that age. Like I think it affects you once you hit play, because otherwise the elves would have like. I mean, I guess they have the same
because they have a different
physical like pool
track based on like larger numbers of years between the gaps. It follows a different arc as well. Like it just keeps going up because they're elves. But
the problem is then though you'd have the same mental pool as like an elf of that age. Like if your character is only
so here's what I'm saying is like a split between the like I still have the mind of a human, but my body is just aging slower. So it's not that I would use the elven physical pool. It's just that I would. So the elven categories are from like until you're 25 and then from 25 to 60.
Mm-hmm.
And so just saying that I am in the like second progression of the human pool or whatever.
What would the statistic difference be that you're proposing?
It's like 2 or 3 points. It's not a big deal. It gets me like, and I don't use my physical pools very well. It's not going to make a huge impact.
I feel like the choice here would be you get to pick one or the other. You either age like an elf or you age like a human. You don't get the best of both worlds. So either your character like is 161 years old and you have 10 and 17, or you age like a human. You just will never die of old age. Like.
But then I'll be like super withered.
Well, or you just hit max level and stay there, right? Like you get to a certain age and then lock. I think it makes sense either way to either use the stat points for elves by age. But the thing is, you're using human life paths, so it would put you'd be like a child by elf standards. I think probably the smart move is just to stick with the elf one. Or to stick with the human one.
The human ones.
Yeah, just use the human ones because
cool.
Yeah, I think it just makes it's the least confusing.
Like, that would be kind of cute.
Yeah,
like
I'll make a note. I'll bug Luke about it. Be like, what is your intent here? What is this supposed to mean?
I mean, like the way we're doing it is totally fine.
Yeah.
And then but regardless, so then what that means is that my character appears a lot younger.
Yes.
Then certainly. Okay, cool. Great.
Cool. All right.
Just some notions I had.
So Dave, let's talk about so you don't have any, there's no relationships for your character. You didn't buy any.
I'm too busy consorting with spirits.
Yeah, totally.
Like,
yeah.
I'm
You're not
of
of the human world because you're distracted elsewhere.
I'm fucking busy. All right.
Say distracted.
Okay. So Dave, let's talk about your character's resource points. What did you spend resource points on, Dave?
Okay. So I spent most of them, but not all of them, just because I haven't done. Because excuse me, my voice has gone a bit funny. I couldn't work out how important people were in the settings. I wanted to maybe do on air my relationships. I've got some points set aside for those.
Because sure, yeah, because we want to talk about that. Yeah, that makes sense. And I know the same thing. Like Blue Jay and Elf, you have a relationship that you're both related to, and we want to talk about how that works. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah. So I'd like to once we've established sort of how important different members of the court are.
Okay. So what have you spent your points, your resource points on so far?
So far I've got the basics. I've got clothes, shoes, finery, personal effects. Then, since I'm an enchanter, or I have enchanting opened, it relies on you having a base skill as well as enchanting
Yes,
to
that's
base
right.
your enchanting off of. And in my case, my enchanting is probably going to be based off of Imperia. What's that called? Imperelia.
Corelia, yeah, the angel
Imperialia?
lore.
Yeah.
Yeah, Empirelia. Yeah. Okay, fine. I'm gonna keep forgetting how to pronounce that. But what that made me decide was I should probably buy myself a skill toolkit to do with my belief skill, because I think that's the more practical application of like Empirelia when it comes to enchanting things. So I'm thinking stuff like holy water, like consecrated items, like
Have the incense and the
holy
censer.
Oh, yeah.
incense,
Yeah.
stuff like. So I've grabbed that. If I ever like get big into enchanting or do that for people. But the summoning that we were talking about, mine's slightly different, as we say.
Yeah, I'm so. Can I just say, like,
From,
I'm
how
so
spirit binding
so
works.
excited about both these characters that we've seen so far in terms of like how they represent the magic of the world, because your character is like the epitome of the sort of magical monk, right? In that you have enchanting, and your enchanting has like these rules, and you've studied Imperalia, which is like the study of the denizens of the celestial halls of light, or the opposite of demonology. And yeah, like you're a tonsured monk, and like Andrew said, yeah, your toolkit is probably like, yeah, a censer of incense and a prayer book and the sacred writings of the monks that came before you. And yeah, so you don't have spirit binding. You care not for the animistic spirits of the earth. You care for the halls of the high heavens, and you can call forth the dwellers therein.
Yeah, and I figure this is a lot more kind of conceptually based in the sense that whilst Andrew's character's magic like probably always existed to a point because it's the old spirit, it's the old ways things work. A lot of mine is kind of awakening to actually working now that like God has died.
Yeah.
Twinned with the fact that the character's gone a little bit mad from actually being gifted. Mm-hmm. And so while there was a lot of lip service and study done of like Empire and stuff, nobody else, as far as I'm aware, because I'm not like part of, I don't know all the people in the church, has actually accidentally summoned like an angel.
Right.
Yeah,
I don't imagine that summoning is possible for anyone, but I don't imagine that it's something that people have done in public. Like, it's still very like secretive, and there's a lot of writing about how it might be done, right? There are a lot of monks, probably like the weirder monks who are into the sort of occult angles of the church, have taken, points in Imperialia, but not in summoning. Summoning is this whole other like very dangerous, like it's like, here's a book about magic, and then secretly in the forbidden wing of the library, here's the real ass book about magic. Now both of you have art magic, right? You both have sorcery. You have that skill.
Yeah, we didn't talk about the details of art magic yet.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that too. But I think that the more formal magics and the sort of opposed, the things that'll make interesting contrasts for your characters together are the difference between the spirit binding and the summoning. So let's talk about summoning. I went back and read the chapter because I haven't used summoning in a game before. It's very interesting. I'm very excited.
It's very interesting. And I think it's a cool distinction that fits really well into the world that we've done and what you're just saying, in that, everybody can potentially use summoning by assassination, right? The theory exists behind it in the world, which ties nicely to the pre-established faiths and like religion, or you can be gifted. And that kind of works through you as a conduit. So I've grabbed assassination as well as a skill because I would have learned how it would work theoretically, but then it accidentally did work. So that's something that the characters are going to have to deal with. But to summon, you need to buy orders with certain groups.
Yeah, so
in
there
the
are
same-
there are
different
eight
things.
orders of creatures, 8 orders of beings that you can have. Basically, the way summoning works, if you're looking at Burning Wheel generally, if you have say the gold version of the game, you've read how circles work. It's circles, but for heaven and hell. And you have to buy. You can buy basically relationships with or reputations within certain orders
Yes.
to allow you to call forth their power.
Yeah, I got a little bit stuck for a while because I wasn't sure what the difference would between getting an order, which is just sort of opening a circle, and getting a reputation with one of the orders was for a while. But I think I've sussed it now, and they're very, very expensive. So I've
Yeah.
only got 3,
Yes.
including free one.
Yeah. So what
so-
orders do you have a link to?
So all orders of summoning automatically get a journeyman order with the restless dead,
Mm-hmm.
which is journeyman is a 0 dice. I want to say reputation, but it's specifically not reputation.
Right, because you can
It's
get
like
you
an
can get
opening of access to circlesing that
It's
group.
like a relationship-ish.
you're buying a life path with them, and it allows you access to their
Yeah.
order.
Affiliation's a good word. Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
Darren.
it's like affiliations. That's yeah.
So yep, you get those for free.
So the restless dead. So there's a difference. There's 2 kinds of dead. Let me read for the audience the types of spirits, the things you can summon. So there are the restless dead. There are the sanctified dead. So the difference being restless dead are people who have died but not been properly buried in the churchyard or given whatever pagan rituals to placate their spirit. They're the wandering ghosts of the world. So there's the restless dead, there's the sanctified dead, which are the ones that have been given those things. There are minor corporeal spirits, and major corporeal spirits. These are angels and demons. Minor deities, and chief deities. So if you wanted to have an order with God himself, you could do that. The thing is, they all give you, they cost more or less, right? Having an affiliation with God costs 10 extra resource points, but you can use your summoning skill to summon God, right? You could be like,
dead
except he's
God.
dead.
get your ass out
Dead
here.
God is
Right.
my homie.
So we'll talk about that.
Yeah,
God in this
that's just
setting,
the
the dead God in this setting is indeed a major, a chief deity. He's the top of the pile. But we'll talk about
So I mean,
about that. But go ahead and
it's
let's
just-
talk about what you got for your orders.
Sure. Yeah. So I picked up because I think it ties into my training as a priest. I picked up the sanctified dead.
Mm-hmm.
I already have a relationship with them because of the rites that I've learned to do and to sanctify them. And I got a journeyman order with the major corporeal spirits, because I think that would encompass like angels in the sense that they would be written in scripture.
Yeah, so the way I envision the differences between minor corporeal and major spirits would be like minor corporeal spirits would be like cherubs, kind of lesser choirs of angel, imps if you're looking to summon
Right.
demons, that kind of thing. Corporeal spirits would be the laity of like most of your average demons and angels kind of occupy that space, and then major corporeal spirits would be like demon princes or archangels.
So Lucifer, Michael,
So
etc.
Lucifer or Satan, like the adversary, I would put higher up. I would put either as a minor deity or deity. Maybe old Lucy has just moved up from minor deity to deity with the recent passing of God.
Hey, Lucy.
Old
Hey.
Lucy.
Oh, Lucy. But I definitely think that, yeah, like once you leave corporeal spirit and get into minor deity, these are things like actual gods and to a degree, gods outside of your own paradigm, right? Like there's the church
Right.
and its thing, but if you have links to minor deities or deities, you could call forth like the equivalent of like Thor or Baldur or something.
Right, but I originally had down that I wanted a journeyman order with chief deity.
Yes.
But then I realized that is incredibly presumptuous, and if not outright heresy.
Right.
Like,
Right. Yeah, you can commune with everything right up to almost God, but you use faith to interact with God. Right?
Yeah.
You don't call God to you ask God and you command everything else.
yeah.
Okay, so you took Sanctified Dead, you took which kind of corporeal spirit?
Major.
Okay, cool. So archangels and shit.
Yeah, I think that plays into. I think I've done a bit too much thinking on the backstory, but I think part of during Mad Summoner and getting mad is probably summoning a major corporeal spirit and having that effect on your body when you don't know what's going on makes you kind of go a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and you also have corruption too. You're corrupt. These things have messed you up.
Yes, and I really like how that ties in, and how the system itself.
Okay. So Sanctified Dead, major corporeal spirit.
Yeah,
did you take
and the free one was Restless Dead.
Right, and Restless Dead. Okay, so the reason these are different too is that the obstacle of summoning different things will vary, and the kinds of services they can provide. So, when Dave's character summons spirits from the beyond, they can perform physical spirits or physical services. Physical services include murder, kidnapping, transport, guarding, or infesting an area and protecting the summoner. Right, so you can call forth the Restless Dead to do physical shit for you. You can ask for an economic service, right? The wealth can come in many forms. It's not always just a pile of gold. If the spirit has resources, it may grant you a loan, cash, or funds from the standard rules, right? Like literally, you could call on a demon and be like, yo, open up the vaults of hell and spill forth your devil gold. I need to buy me a ship.
As a loan, though.
Yeah, as a loan.
Ooh, making loans with devils
or
is
angels.
favorite thing.
Yeah, or angels, right? Where you can be like, the thing that I really like about this is that normally I think that summoning is not necessarily easier, but certainly more possible in that normally God ran a tight ship until he got sick and died. And now with God out of the way, there's probably some kind of like celestial civil war going on, and the angels all have their own shit going on. I think the lines between
acting God.
Yeah, the lines between heaven and hell are starting to blur a little. And now you can call on angels that have their own political agenda in heaven, and they might want to use you. They might be like, sure, I will give you gold, but here's the true name of an angel who is my rival. Call them forth and kill them for me. Right? Like,
Yeah, and the really cool thing about that is it's accounted for, right? In the way that you open new orders.
Yeah.
You can either do that by like paying physical tribute or like paying resources to get it, doing stuff, or you can accept a Geos, which is fantastic, and they just kind of like possess you for a bit and let you act as a conduit for their will.
Yeah, and we'll talk about prices in a second, but some other things that you can summon for social. So you may ask a spirit to go forth and convince another person of something. Love, fear, respect. Love and affection may be earned through the machinations of a spirit. This is a rather complex task, the means of which are left entirely to the spirit. Assassination, bribery, arranged marriages, and worse are not out of the question. You can call for empowerment. Empowerment is a spiritual binding that grants the summoner or a character of his choice one of the spirit's stats. So if you're like, we need to empower ourselves for a coming battle. You can be like, give me your fort, right? And suddenly you have like gray fort, but the angel has to give it up while you have this. Same with transference. Transference is a process by which you take one of their traits. So if you want to have the traits of an angelic creature or give someone that, you can do that. And then revelation, a question answered by the consulted entity. And if it doesn't personally know, it will go back to where it came from and find out for you. Revelations always reveal truth. They may be obscure or confusing, but they're never false. So the thing is, the different orders can give you different things. So the Restless Dead can give you revelations. They can give you transference. They can perform physical acts. The Sanctified Dead can do social revelation or transference. So this can be like you call up someone's ancestor and be like, go and convince them that this business deal is a good idea. Right. And so then they have a vision of like their dead uncle coming to them in the night and being like, ooh, Don't be mean to Tim, Tiny Tim. He's gonna die. It's gonna be sad.
I mean,
Yeah,
but
three spirits are
alternately,
gonna come and visit
but
you.
alternately,
You're
they
gonna
could
get
just
robbed.
grab him by the throat and be like, "Do the deal."
Yeah, exactly. It depends on So Restless Dead and Sanctified Dead, and then major corporeal spirits can do everything except social. So any of those things, transference, empowerment, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
What's cool is that each level demands different prices. So the Restless and Sanctified Dead only demand tribute. So the Restless Dead won't necessarily ask you to like off yourself for them. But major corporeal spirits demand a mark plus a soul in exchange for their services.
Yeah.
And so you can haggle with them, and there's a bunch of other things that we can do when we summon. You can use your success margin to
really
bargain.
well.
Yeah.
there's
And
a
like
lot of-
circles, once you if you exceed the obstacle to summon, you can learn one of the creature's names, and then in the future you can call particularly upon that angel. So we're gonna between sessions I'm gonna have to dig into the like weird. I need some weird angel names, some strange angelic names, so that when you call on, you call on these angels, and you'll be able to call on specific ones. I'm excited. It's gonna be weird as hell.
Cool. Yeah, me too. Very much so.
I'm gonna lean into my there's a role playing game I haven't played in ages, but always enjoyed a game called In Nomine, which is a game about like angels and demons, and there's all kinds of interesting shit in there. So I'm gonna use that for some inspiration, I think. Cool. And so you wanted to talk about relationships, yeah?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Because the prices for stuff are contingent upon the importance of said character within the narrative. So I wanted to wait until we had the noble like set up how the court system works. Or
Okay. Yeah.
Aha.
Well, let's talk about that then, because that's where Elf's character and Blue Jay's character will come in. So we talked a little bit about like a very little bit at the beginning of the last one about like noble houses and like how that's structured. So Blue Jay, I think this is mostly kind of your jam. Where we left off, both kind of during the last session and in the interim, we talked about how the nobles of the setting are structured, right? Like they're organized into houses, but the houses have families within them. So like your character, it's not as simple as in say like Game of Thrones, where like all the Starks belong to House Stark and House Stark is in charge of Winterfell, where it's more like you may be of House you're of House Ursus, and your family name is something else, and it's it's an Ursus king on the throne. And that the kings they're all kind of like, I think they're interrelated, and there's definitely a lot of like intermarriage and interbreeding. But they're not all like, everyone in a house is not all blood relatives necessarily.
It's like ties of loyalty that were established a long ass time ago and just like moved forward into the present day. Like it used to be like you were all House Ursus because you were like
geographically
loyal to this one guy, but now it's just like you're all House Ursus because you've always been House Ursus, but you're not necessarily like actually related.
Yeah, and I really like the idea of using the Latin names, like the modern Latin names for plants and animals and like things like that, and then using their sub, like whatever the next thing is. So like if your House Ursus is the House of the Bear, and then we can use the subfamilies to come up with names for them. So like I don't know, let's see,
different babu bears.
Yeah, what's the kind of, so the name of like the grizzly is Arctus. So yeah, you could be like John of Arctus of House Ursus, right? So you're like,
so
Ursus,
it's like the subdivisions
right?
of
But
the
what'll be
various-
really fun and interesting is when you are you're of like a plant. Your family is named after like a rose or something, but you're part of House Corvidae because of some sworn allegiance in the past, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean that House Corvidae is all like ravens and magpies and stuff. It might have, there's interbreeding in like houses that have changed loyalties and whatever. So keeping that stuff in your head is part
or
of that
marrying
skill.
in, you know.
Allegiance.
Fun fact about grizzly bears specifically: Arctus ursus is actually just bear.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
I mean,
Pretty great.
most of the Latin
Okay.
names are like something the same.
Yeah, I made a list, and I'll just keep adding to it as we go. But of like the different, I think what we'll do is we'll try to we'll try to figure out like the different structures. But I definitely think I mean for you, what have you thought about your house and family yet?
I mean, definitely Corvidae, because that's I really like that idea someone suggested, but I haven't thought of my personal family name yet. No.
Okay.
I need to look that up.
Right. So you're a noble. You're a lady of House Corvidae,
Mm-hmm.
and you're either of a one of the bird houses, or like House Corax.
Are you from the major House Corvidae family?
I mean, I like to think that because of like the way that we've established fictionally, I feel like I'm going to need to buy a fairly high like noble thing. So I feel like I might be just like the main like House Corvidae, just like
part of
this family is
main
ancient
lineage.
And like yeah.
Yeah, and
Maybe
I don't
not
think
one of
that
the satellite
every
clans.
I don't think that every noble house has like the best ones still have a main lineage, right? They still have their core house that is very much like you would be the Lady Corvidae of house, like of your family is Corvidae as well.
Yeah, and that you can just track your lineage back like
Yeah, which
thousands of
inherently
years.
makes you sort of better than
Mhm.
than say family Corax within House Corvidae. But some houses
Can I
don't have
pause it?
that anymore. Some their main line have all died off or something, and so they're run by something
And
else.
so you end up with Arctis of Ursa, but there are no Ursas.
Yeah, there's
so
no
Arctis
Ursa
is
of
the
Ursa.
main Ursa or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Totally, yeah.
And can I suggest like real quick one of the or maybe one of the sayings of one of the main flower houses is probably something to do with like keeping their lineage pure like without the weeds growing up, and that could be like reference to like side houses or people coming in.
Well, yeah, and I'm sure there are houses in the houses minor that are just the core lineage, right? And they're all like weird and they don't breed out into other houses and like it's like a single pure stock versus say like letting themselves diffuse out. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I like it. So yeah, I'm thinking that the dynastic lineage is such that like there are however many houses major, and then there are some houses minor. The houses major are bigger and own more area. But I think so. The setting that we're in, we've talked about it. The king of this city in this region, they are he's not of House Corvidae, right?
No.
Okay, yeah. So he's of a different house. Okay,
Yes.
So we'll figure that out. And this guy is one of these sort of Hungarian style nobles, like of the House of the Mountains, kind of guy.
Yeah, I'm assuming that there's like kings of like kingdoms, and then there's like a high king sort of thing somewhere that nobody gives a shit about right now.
I mean, God is the High King, right?
God is the high king. Okay.
God is the King of Heaven, and all other kings derive their power from him. But he's dead now, so eh.
So there will be a high king soon if X Lord has anything to say.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Is that you either find like God's representation on Earth, like we need a high king. The chain has been broken at its highest link, and now there's all these chain bits all over the ground, and we need to work that out. Yeah, so I don't know. This king will be like of House Canis or House something. Maybe I'll find another animal or plant for him to be. I'll look up national animals of various places. Yeah.
Yeah. That was our thoughts on nobility. So there would be like everyone's under the kings of regional areas, which are all like under or were under just like God's rule. They were instilled by God. Their family was like chosen. And then there are the lower like houses that and then the minor houses under that, the major houses and the minor houses and etc. So
yeah, like small kingdoms under God sort of thing.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a secular and a religious kind of outlook on things, and the nobles are still very tied to this God is the king of heaven. We are the kings of the earth. Our families derive their power from us. We derive our power from God. The peasants belong to us, but there is in the urban centers of the world a burgeoning and rising middle class, right? Merchants who are peasants who gave up their rural life. We're in a period of, even before God died, we were in a period of some gentle change where someone could abandon their farm, move to the city, and they could start a business. We're starting to see this rise of the middle class and the merchant
Or maybe
class.
even like minor nobles who didn't have enough money to keep their estate.
Right. Yeah. And this is why, and you see this in all kind of dissolving feudal historical civilizations where the noble class resents them because, yeah, there definitely would be like princes who have less money and power and influence than some up-jumped cousin who was like, you know what, I'm of a tiny minor like weed house, and fuck that, I'm 27th in line for I'm gonna build a factory. Like, fuck it, we're gonna become textile gods and it'll be fine.
Yeah. So there's definitely probably those people who were of some minor house and decided that they didn't give a shit about noble lines and being like lazy and riding horses and hunting things. And instead they're going to buy ships and sell spices or something.
Yeah. I like it. And like the middle class isn't some like purely secular. We're not talking about a like rejection of God. They just believe that maybe, and I'm sure that there are heresies that we can work out as we go, but there are definitely some middle classmen who are like, wait, maybe God helps those who help themselves, right? Maybe, right? Maybe God appreciates hard work. There's a version of God who believes in the sweat of one's brow.
Oh, and of course, some of those minor nobles who bought ships, they had to sell their estates to buy the ships. And the people who bought their estates were like other merchants who are now living like as neighbors to nobility. And the nobles are like, what?
The nouveau riche.
Gross. Get out.
Yeah. I like it. That's super cool. Yeah, and so they have this power, and they're going to be the least affected by the sudden changes, right? There are certainly people who are these merchant lords or traders or whatever who are like, oh, God's dead? Well, tell me something I didn't already know, right? Like God is dead and has been replaced by the ingot, right? The ingot and the loom. Cool. Yeah, I dig it. So let's talk about your resource points, my noble friend.
Yeah.
What have you spent points on so far, and what points do you have remaining to
I knew that I wanted to take a what is it, the highest one, 15 RP relationship.
Yep.
That I'm gonna like bum down with some complications or whatever.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about then for everybody, because I know Dave, you still have to buy relationships, and I imagine Elf, you have some points that you wanna spend on relationships. Let's talk about the three tiers, right? Mm-hmm. So the only person in this game who's mechanically allowed to have a relationship with God is Dave's character, but we've established that Faith is your vessel for communing with God. For relationships, the three categories are someone who is powerful and plays a large role, that's 15 points. Someone significant or important is 10, and someone who plays a minor role is 5.
So your buying of relationship isn't to do with your relationship, but to do with the person who are you.
Yes, it's how important they are to the world at large.
Well, that's good. Okay.
Yeah. So if they're not important, except to you, then they're cheap. They're 5 points, right? Mm-hmm. So, for example, a relationship with a character considered powerful and plays a large role in the game setting would be any of the kings or queens, because I think that here's the thing. I think that in the setting, I think it's boring if everybody is just like the man in charge. I think that de facto the dogma is that the male lineage is the one that passes on, because God is a man in this setting, or was. But I think practicality trumps that. There's definitely like queens who are in charge because the king died, or like because the people just like them better, or he's sick, or he's not sick, he's just inept, and they've made an excuse and been like, yes, all hail the king, but really the queen
he's gone off to the Crusades against the
he's died terribly. What a shame.
Taken to the cloth.
Yeah. Suddenly. Yes, totally. He's had a sudden
fit of visions. He's like, no, I didn't have visions, and they're just like dragging him up.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely if we have a character like Dave's character, there's probably been some nobility who have been like, yo, Could you help me out with this problem I got?
Well, and again, and I think Dave,
use your angels to like.
I think Dave, you can. Your character, I think, represents a splinter aspect of the church. But since you're the most connected to it, I'm happy to like lean into some of the details with you. But I think that the church, because they have like magic and shit, not all of them, some of them, we've established that faith only works on the faithful, but because these things, these miracles and what have you, they are possible. I think that the church in our setting differs from the church in reality in this sort of analog time period, in that it is a very spiritual place. There's magical stuff going on there, but it's also a big secular organization with a lot of say and power. It has sway, and yeah, like there's definitely some kind of monetary exchange there. They have material power. They have like a Templar order, the protectors of the church, right? The protectorate of God.
Yeah, I was thinking about how interesting it would be having the second arc when all the armies come back and having like a big part of one of the armies be like Holy Iron Chain Knights or whatever, like a specifically Templar or like Crusade.
Well, and and that'll be some of the tension, right? The tension between the old and new, the tension between the secular and the religious in the setting. Yeah, and that conflict to be like, who do you serve? Country, God, or a man, right? Do you serve a general? So yeah, there's a secular aspect to the church for sure. But yeah, so 15 resource points will get you a relationship with one of the council of patriarchs, right? One of the high priests who are all in the city now. Some of them are going to be fleeing the city post haste, but currently the 12 elders of the church are in the city now. There are probably several visiting, maybe if not kings, but princes, right, of the various houses. Like we've established that the conclave was a bit of an Olympic style event, so there are a lot of visiting dignitaries. There is the king of this place himself. Any of those, the elders of the church or the kings, that would be 15 resource points. I think maybe there's a handful of sort of nouveau riche, like middle class, those folk who'd be worth 15 points. But for the most part, those guys are 10 points, right? A guild or merchant prince, a baron, a lesser noble, like a prince or a duke, that kind of thing. That'd be 10 points. The 10-point window is the widest, and then 5 points is people who are only important to this particular city in a minor way, or more important in a smaller venue. So someone who's
your best friend, the cupbearer at the table of whatever.
Yeah, well, they don't even have to be your best friend. They're just important because they're a minor functionary or something, or they're just like someone in this region that would be irrelevant elsewhere. So yeah.
So I bought a relationship with the king of this region for 15 RP, minus 2 for romantic love and minus 1 for forbidden. So that's 12.
Okay. All right, so you have a non-hateful, non-rivalrous, non-unfriendly relationship. You didn't get the points for that, but a forbidden relationship of romance with the king of this area.
Mm-hmm. Eyebrow wiggle immediately.
So this is we talked about this a little bit before, right? Like you're having an affair with the king. Like he's married. There's a queen.
Yes.
Okay.
You
should not have this relationship with him, and it is a secret.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Cool.
And then I'm not sure about affiliations. Like I get a free one die affiliation with nobility with my mark of privilege, but like if I wanted to be like fictionally of the house Corvidae, like an important, like not like the ruling family, but an important noble family in the region, like would I have to buy this affiliation?
This is the question, right? So we know that there is a king who is not of your house. Mm-hmm. Thus his family and house is more important than yours. But is House Corvidae important in this region at all? Or are you foreigners? Are you from the capital or from like the coast? How far away is House Corvidae? Like, I guess the question here is, are you Marjorie Tyrell in Highgarden, or are you Marjorie? I mean, you can't be, right? Because this isn't Highgarden. Or are you Marjorie Tyrell in King's Landing or in Winterfell? How far away from home are you, and how many of your friends are there?
Adam, can we not say like the M word or anything? I saw
Why, Dave?
Yeah, why?
We don't bring
Dave?
up old ND. Okay, all right. So
Please,
are you
please.
an unnamed member of House Tyrell? So
No,
I guess that's the
I'm-
question. How important is House Corvidae to this place that you're in?
Well,
Yeah.
my thoughts are.
I mean, if you own
don't
property in
want-
this town.
I don't. Yeah, I own property. I don't want my character's desires to be like really insane, like and reaching, right? I want it to be something that could potentially actually happen for
Yep.
her. Like she's not crazy. Like she
Right.
wants to be queen, but like a lesser noble, that wouldn't happen, right?
Right.
So she needs to be fancy enough that she could actually potentially be queen.
I love the idea that you're like, well, I'm not going to be able to be queen. I'm not going to be able to be queen through my own house, so I'm going to go fuck around with someone else's. Like,
Yeah.
you've seen weakness elsewhere, and you're like, maybe I could just become queen of House Ursus instead.
Yeah.
I mean, living up to the Raven.
Right. Yeah, you're pushing
Amazing.
you're pushing their eggs out of the nest
exactly,
for your own.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm just like,
Or maybe more of a magpie.
I was gonna say this is the magpie at work in the Corvidae
Yeah.
family.
So, okay, so the question here is, you have little or no power in your particular groups just by way of life pass, but you can buy an affiliation. The amounts you spend indicate how powerful the organization is.
Yeah.
So if you spend 10 points, it's a small local or specialized group, which means that you and maybe a few others are the only House Corvidae in whatever we call this place, Mountain Home or whatever, right? If you spend 25 points, you become large, regional, or expansive. So you're a big deal. Your house, House Corvidae, is maybe the second house in this city after House Ursus, which is going to mean you have more sway, but also you have more rivals and people who are going to be like, hey, what are you doing? We see you, and you're going to have to like manage them. So it's up to you.
My question is, I already have the free 1 die affiliation,
and that's with that's with all nobility everywhere, right?
Okay, so would buying the 2 die affiliation, that's just completely separate?
Yes, yeah, you can have a bunch of different affiliations. Yeah.
Okay. I feel like the 3 die 50 RP affiliation would be if I were in the ruling family in this region, House Ursus,
Yes.
which is more than I wanted to do. So the 2 die like large regional or expansive group would make sense if like House Corvidae is
They have a presence in
local
this region.
to like this area, but not the ruling family.
Yes, perfect. Yeah, so you're a foreign house, but you have some regard here. You are, to continue the metaphor.
I mean, not necessarily foreign, just not the ruling house.
No, I mean you're foreign. They're different kingdoms. You're from another country.
So every kingdom
Yes.
just only has one noble family.
No. There are presences of them, but like it's a different kingdom, right?
And your family is considered to be from somewhere else, even if you grew up here, right? They're like,
Yes.
oh, you're part
Well,
of.
my question is just like, can there be noble families in the region that just aren't the
Oh, of
ruling?
course. Yeah, there's tons. They're all over the place. Yeah. Some, like, obviously, like if you are born to House Ursus, you may never visit this city, right? You could just have been somewhere else. You're in one of the like lesser towns or lesser cities, or you could be in another kingdom as either like you just prefer it, right? Like it's like the capital, I think technically belongs to God, right? Like there may be no king in the capital, but there's a council where like the kings send their children or their cousins or whatever to go to the capital and to have sway in the politics of the capital that run the collective of kings, because there's an empty throne in the capital where like God symbolically sits.
Well, my thought is that like, I was thinking of the nobility in so much as like there are houses that don't rule anywhere.
Oh yeah, sure, but they want to, right?
Yeah.
Now
like,
it's up to
maybe
you.
the
It's up
house-
to you if there is a Corvidae king on the throne of another kingdom, right? Niren in chat says it's like the kings of Old Britain, the king of Mercia, the king of Northumbria, the king of Wessex, but they're all part of Britain, right? You're all members of the kingdom of God, and maybe there's a Corvidae king or queen elsewhere, but not here. And certainly there can be a presence of House Corvidae wherever they want to go, because you're a noble,
Okay.
right? You can live wherever you want, as long as the king doesn't hate you, right? Because the houses get in fights, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, that's war.
And so
Okay,
it could be really bad. It could be really bad for you if this dude that you're sleeping with decides to declare war on House Corvidae, because then suddenly you and your
he's not
people are in a
going
bad place. You're in a foreign land. There's two kinds of foreign, right? There's my neighbor foreign, and then there's like Stygia over there foreign, right? Like the Levant. So it's totally a thing. You can be present here. This affiliation is really just saying how important is House Corvidae in the place we're in. You'll get advantage dice, I'm sure, if you go to wherever the sanctum of House Corvidae is, like wherever they are from.
Okay, so I'm gonna go with the 25 RP reputation here because I want to be important.
So the affiliation.
I want to be important too, but I can't afford a 25 point.
Hey, Andrew.
I'm important in the woods.
Yeah, that's right. You just need to change.
Well, go back to the woods, yo.
You just need to change what important is.
I'm not important anywhere.
Okay, so that gives me cutting it pretty close for houses. Okay. All right. So then I need to buy like clothes and a house.
Yeah. Now we can talk about clothes are finery for 5, shoes for 1, regular clothes for 1.
Clothes for 1.
Yeah.
Okay. And the property, I think, okay. Manor or estate is 30 RP.
Mm-hmm.
And that seems like all I can afford right now.
Let's see. Manor or estate. Okay. A leaky shack is 1. A small cottage is 3. A house is 10. A villa is 15. A small business is 20. A moderate business is 30. A manor or estate is 40.
Okay, 40.
Yeah, because it's the one after the description.
Oh, okay.
40 is the lowest one you have to be nobleborn to get.
Mm-hmm.
And the property purchase comes with appropriate staff, buildings, and accoutrement. It doesn't provide you with any free purchases from the resource list. So if you buy that 40 resource point one, you get servants and whatever, and it belongs to you. Like, not to your house, not to your family, but you. Mm-hmm. It's your name on the fucking deed.
Yeah, right. Okay, I need to do some math because I need to buy clothes.
Well, like Andrew pointed out in the last session, if you don't buy clothes but do buy finery, you just don't have anything that isn't wonderfully nice.
I mean, that makes sense.
You're just completely impractical at all times.
Yeah. And you can
obtain...
obtain...
Okay, we got to run into the dark woods, and you're like, let me put on my bodice.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, I have a princess gown, so... I do like the idea that you own, like, you are the head of House Corvidae in this place. You have some, like, lesser siblings or whatever, cousins that live in the city, but they don't have the House Corvidae estate like you do.
I might need to make my relationship more complicated to be able to afford any clothes at all.
So I love the kinds of things that come out of this. I tell this story a lot when doing character creation. One of the first Burning Wheel games I ever played, I was playing with my brother, and we were all sitting around the table. And there's that quiet time where we were all kind of like flipping through the book, and everybody was making their characters. And my brother lets out this like dramatic sigh, right? He's just like, he closes the book. And I'm like, what's wrong, man? And he's like, I'm just never going to be able to afford a relationship. And I was like, there you go. Yep. Welcome to the Burning Wheel. So yes, if you want, you can make your relationship with the king more complicated so that you can afford clothes.
I don't want to, but I only have
forbidden?
3.
It's already forbidden. The only way to make it more complicated is to be related or to have him hate you.
I don't want him to hate me. That's not what I want.
Or be related.
I don't want to be related either, unless it's like
you could be his cousin. That gives you one
second cousin, right?
Cousin gives you 1 more point.
I need 2 points.
Then he has to be your brother, or
no.
Yeah, that's your choice. He's either your brother or he hates you, or
I don't want him to hate me.
Or you just don't own clothes.
I need clothes.
He's either your brother or he hates you, or you
my
don't
character
own
has
clothes.
my character has the trait well dressed. Like, I need clothes.
No, but do you have finery?
No.
Oh, you don't have any clothes at all.
I don't have anything.
Okay,
so
all right.
I need to reassess.
All right, so how many points total did you start with?
I started with 80.
Okay, so you drop by half to get your estate.
Yeah.
And then so you're down to 40, and then you spend another.
The thing is that the affiliation making my house important was 25 points, which is a lot.
Yeah, that's true. So that brings you down to 15. and then
I don't have enough.
12 for the relationship.
Can you make them less important but still important?
Well,
the house
because
could be
less
one
important
die
is
instead.
like significantly less important, like not at all important.
No,
right?
I don't think it's not that it's not at all important. It's just the least important it can be for you to be affiliated with it. Maybe they used to be more important than they are, and that's part of what your belief is, right? I will make my house important again, right? Like maybe your estate, maybe House Corvidae in this place was once, maybe this place was founded on an alliance of Canis and Corvidae in the ancient times, but House Canis or whatever has like risen where House Corvidae has fallen. Maybe your estate is this ivy covered thing in Old Town, and people are like, yeah, House Corvidae is they're on the outs, and part of you could write a belief to be like, I will fuck my way back to glory.
Yes.
Right? Like,
I mean, that makes sense.
Do that.
As a motivator. Yeah.
So set them at 1 and then
I will fuck my way back to glory. Best belief ever.
Yeah, you better have opened that skill and put some points in it.
I did. Trust me, I did.
I went back and moved some points around, by the way. I should have mentioned this at the beginning.
So that's 10 then.
But because I didn't realize that the slash in between minus and minus for mental and physical meant one or the other.
Right, not both. Yeah.
So I have 4 willed now
Nice.
instead of 3.
Nice.
So
Cool.
So willful.
Okay, so that gives you how many more points? 15 more?
Now I have 18.
Nice.
altogether.
You could buy another relationship.
Oh, you're good.
Okay, so I'm gonna figure this out. I'm gonna get clothes first.
Okay, so
Then
how
I'm
many
gonna-
points total do you have right now?
I have 18, and finery is
5.
5,
Yep.
which I need to be well dressed.
Okay, so that brings you down to 13. Shoes brings you down to 12.
Yeah.
Personal effects would bring you down to 11 if you want those. So,
Personal effects. What is that?
personal items of sentimental value: mirror, book, ring, cane, locket, other similar items.
Of course, you would have that.
Of course. Okay, so that's another 1. So what are you at now?
One sec. So -5 for finery, -2 for personal effects and shoes. I have 11 now.
Oh my god, I'm so all about Elf coming up with like little like offensive rhymes about the houses.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And in the time that I have, if you give me house names, I can write some stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't like. Okay, so like things like clothes, I could buy those in game if my character found out that for some reason she needed and didn't have them, right? Like I could buy them with money or resources, or try at least like make a resource roll.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I don't think that she would like keep some everyday life clothes.
Yeah, no, that would
around.
be the thing that your character might not have and you could buy.
No, I don't want that.
Okay.
And then
what need have you
right.
of things that are not fine?
Yeah. Do I need to get skill toolkits for like astrology or
So skill toolkit for astrology only if you plan on practicing the astrology skill in and of itself. You don't need it to fork.
Okay.
Yeah.
What other skills? What
the
other skills
toolkit
do you
is
have?
that you can do people's work.
I have reading and writing, which might require that I have like pen and paper and ink and stuff. As I think there's a toolkit needed for that. Poetry, etiquette, musical instrument, which
Musical
I
instrument requires it.
tool.
Yep. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's not singing.
Apothecary,
Yep.
court gossip, observation, inconspicuous, estate management, court-wise, dance. So I probably need. Do I have to buy one for each skill
Yep.
that needs a toolkit?
Mm-hmm.
Are you kidding me?
Many skills require tools. They can represent anything from medicine to books. It's listed with tools, yes, then you must spend resource points in order to use it. However, you can use it without the test, but it's a double obstacle penalty.
Wait. So in order to write something, I need to spend 8 points?
Yeah, but it's like an infinite supply of writing material. At any time, you can just call on like pen and paper.
Otherwise, just like the whole close situation, you can make resources rolls to get the stuff you need during
Correct.
play.
Yeah.
But it's quite difficult.
I mean, ob 1 if you just need enough like material. I might not even have you roll.
So like write one letter.
Write one letter, yeah.
I'm trying to think of like, is it worth? It's not worth to me spending 8 points so that I can write a letter. At any
No, you could
point
write
in
an
my life.
infinite number of letters. You could write a book. You could write scrolls until the cows come home, unless it says unless it's an expendable kit.
Well, I think that letter writing. What is
A toolkit that has finite supply, like medicine for herbalism, can run dry. I'm gonna say if you spend 8 resource points for a writing toolkit, I will never make you like be like, oh, you run out of books to write in. Like that's horseshit. I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah.
Besides, she doesn't write letters to get her way. She favors a more hands-on approach. Clearly,
It's true.
Obviously. I mean, just look at my skills.
Okay, well, we're due a break.
Okay.
So I want to give everybody a chance to take that. So we'll take a break here, and then you can take some time to look over the last points you want to spend, and we'll do Elf's character, and then we'll get everybody their resource stat and their circle stats, and then we'll carry on with doing cultural traits because I think that'll take us some time to work out setting stuff. So cool. All right, stick around. We'll be right back with more Roll20 Presents The Burning Wheel. Bye for now.